I've been talking about this topic in many of my videos, but I realized I never defined it. I figured this would be the perfect time to describe what I think it is, since it'll be the subject matter of this retreat. Might as well give a working definition before getting too much into it. What is non-duality, and how do we arrive at it? Non-dual, not two, comes from the Sanskrit word Advaita, and it's a philosophical interpretation of reality in a few Eastern spiritual traditions. It refers to a single ultimate reality that is beyond or prior to all dualistic distinctions of self and other, mind and matter, good and bad, God and the universe. It's a source of everything we experience, and a source of the apparent reality of this universe. In relative words, I'm afraid there's no escaping dualism when using language. It's what we call God, source, infinite intelligence, or universal consciousness. In the spiritual traditions I've been learning about recently, non-duality is an important concept because if we can identify with this reality, we would feel an unshakable peace and unconditional happiness. And that sounds pretty good to me. In Rupert Spira's words, non-duality is the recognition that underlying the multiplicity and diversity of experience, there is a single, infinite, and indivisible reality, whose nature is pure consciousness, from which all objects and cells derive their apparently independent existence. The recognition of this reality is not only the source of lasting happiness within all people, it is the foundation of peace between individuals, communities, and nations, and it must be the basis of any sustainable relationship with the environment. Now, that's a lot of good stuff to say about this supposed reality, but how do we get to that conclusion? And can we experience it directly? We're on a break right now, so I'm going to go explore this place and then go to the local town for a bit. Just like the monism of spirituality, or non-duality, we like a monism in our account of the physical world. In our modern scientific worldview, we'd like to be able to reduce everything down to a single thing. The regular patterns of behavior in nature, the laws of physics, seem to justify this monism. And reductionism has worked well in science, in scientific experiments and technology. We can explain the behavior of nature in the simplest terms with as small of a reduction base as possible, and we can understand a lot with this way of thinking. We can take the universe we perceive at the macro level and reduce it down to particles and force fields, molecules, atoms, electrons, quarks, gravitational force, electric force, strong and weak forces, and ultimately down to the quantum field. We can explain everything we perceive in the so-called physical world in terms of excitations of those quantum fields. And physicists would like to reduce those fields further down to a single quantum field, a grand unifying theory of everything. But there's one thing we can't explain with it, and it's a big one: consciousness, our first-hand experiences. Reducing everything down to quantum fields doesn't account for subjective experiences. The taste of chocolate, the scent of a rose, the feeling of heartache. There may be neural correlates of consciousness in the brain that we can observe, but that brain activity hasn't been proven to cause consciousness or to explain it. In fact, it could be the other way around. Our inner experiences could be causing the neuronal activity that we can measure and image on our screen of perception. Or more accurately, they could just be the perceptual representation of what our mental activity looks like. So, can we go the other way around and reduce everything we perceive as physical down to consciousness? People like Donald Hoffman are trying to do this with a mathematically precise theory of consciousness, and that may one day provide the model many need for a consciousness-only worldview. But do we have evidence for this worldview already? It could be said that spiritual traditions have been providing this evidence for thousands of years already. experientially. Through introspection of our experiences, of our thoughts, feelings, and perceptions, we can come to realize that what we really are, what we're made of, is the same stuff everyone and everything is made of. A single consciousness that's apparently segmented into many different minds and many different experiences. For example, I've changed a lot throughout my life, especially from childhood to adulthood, very significantly in the last 10 years and even more in the last year. But I have the sense that I'm still the same person at a deeper level. Although my mind and body has changed, I have the experience of being unchanging. I have a lot of different thoughts, feelings, and perceptions, but I have the experience of being a single being. I had the experience of being the subject, that which is aware of everything, and everything I'm aware of is the object of my attention, even my thoughts. That single, unchanging, aware being is what I experience to be myself. That's my actual experience, and it may be everyone's experience if they introspect in this way. And prior to any thoughts or experiences, what we are is just the pure potential for those experiences, the infinite potential for all experiences. As Rupert says, how many infinities can there be? One. Okay, well, mathematically, there can be an infinite number of infinities, but what we mean here is the totality of everything, the ultimate nature of everything in the universe, both manifest and having the potential to manifest. And the reason this single reality is so important, why I'm doing a whole episode on it, and we'll probably do many more, is because if we can identify with this ultimate reality, we can assuage our distress and suffering in life, and we can find a source of lasting happiness. Non-dual teachings try to get us to realize this single infinite reality that's whole and complete. It doesn't need anything or lack anything, and it's ever present and accessible for us to directly experience and know all the time, even amidst the most difficult experiences. In fact, this infinite consciousness is us. We just don't realize it. When we identify with just a segment of it as a personal mind-body complex, we experience the lack and limitation of our individual minds and bodies. As Rupert would say, when we think and act on behalf of the separate self, we experience the conflict and suffering that goes with trying to defend it and aggrandize it. But the wisdom traditions that point to this non-dual reality try to get us to think and act on behalf of our true infinite nature. Since it's already and always complete, unchanging, and imperturbable, when we get closer to it, we can experience the fulfillment and lasting peace and happiness that go along with it. That's what I'm here for on this retreat. To at least get closer to this realization, and to maybe one day be established in this understanding and way of experiencing life. Like and comment if this resonated with you, and subscribe below to follow me on my journey. See you tomorrow.